with something here for a few minutes to start. So if you don't have a tablet out, but you have it with that, please, and put your OneNote to our shared notebook. While you guys are kind of doing that, I'm going to explain to you what we're about to do and why we're doing it. Maybe we'll start with the why first and then the what. So my computer has been having a lot of resource issues. I've been running out of space, physical memory space on my computer. And the reason is that everything on your shared OneNote is backed up onto my machine. So it's like 40 or 50 gigs worth of data of the stuff that you have in your notebook is being backed up onto my computer. And I've been running out of drive space like all the time, in a case to where like I've been having trouble making enough space to record the lesson, just to record it and then delete the video after I've got it uploaded. And so I've been playing this shell game for like the past 2 weeks of like deleting all these temporary backup files from OneNote long enough to do the recording, but as soon as I open the OneNote folder, all those temporary files start coming back, syncing back in. And by the next class, I have to go back and delete them back out to recording again for the next class. And it's just been like this big kind of hassle and mess. So what we're going to do is I'm going to ask that you guys help me by moving anything other than work that still needs to be graded out of your shared OneNote folder and into like your own private OneNote notebook. So to pick on say Alex here. So if I go and I look at his OneNote, we have all of these pages in his OneNote, like he should. So what we're going to do is we're going to ask you to take all of these pages, did the homework check here on Monday. So basically everything in this, all of these pages can get moved because I've checked everything for everybody unless you have something that you notice that I didn't check or it was late or whatever that I still need to worry about. So the easiest way to do this is you just click on the first thing on your pages list. You press and hold down the shift button, and then you click on the last thing on your list, and that'll highlight everything. I'm sorry, control. Wait, what's going on here? Oh my goodness. 1 second. Everything is just lagging on me. This is, again, it is shift. So you click at the beginning, hold down shift, you click on the one at the end, and it'll highlight, you know, like the whole section of it. I don't know why it only did this much of it. Anyways, if you right click in that highlighted area, then you'll have the option to cut. So if you select cut, then you can go and back out into your own personal notebook and then paste those old homework assignments into a section in your own personal notebook. I apologize for making you guys have to do this right now, but it's just one of these things like we're not even halfway through the semester or whatever, and I'm running into all these issues with the current setup that I didn't foresee when we set this up in the beginning. I didn't realize that I was going to have a backup for every single page that you have in your OneNote. So if you hold down shift, you click at the beginning, and hold down shift and click at the end, it should highlight everything in between. And then if you right click in there, you can cut it all at once. You can do that too. Yeah, that's fine. So I'm going to give you guys a few minutes here to kind of do that. Claire, you say you're done? You moved everything?
I only have
Okay. Beautiful. So let's just open up Claire's here and just kind of show everybody what this is going to look like. And I'm going to sync this notebook right now to give a chance for everything to kind of come through. But if we look, Claire's got a couple of stray note pages here that are probably blank, it looks like anyways. And then we have the homework page, which I think is going to show up as blank, but I think it's fighting your sync and my sync at the same time that's going on there. So that's what it should look like, is all the tabs inside of your shared notebook should basically be empty. And really, you don't need any tabs other than the homework tab, unless you're somebody that takes notes in class or whatever, and that's fine to have a separate notes tab like Claire has here. No big deal. If you get stuck on something or you're not sure, you want to see if you've done something right, I'm happy to take a second look. Just bring your tablet up. I'll look at what's going on. I'll give you some feedback. I'll tell you what's going on or what to do next. Any or all of that's fine. No big deal. Or just take a few minutes and kind of get this straightened out. And this will be a big help to me, so I appreciate you guys helping me out with this. Just for your information, in the content libraries, I'm not going to do anything to the content library. I'm going to leave that the way it is for now. If it becomes too big of a space hog, I'll worry about that later. But I think it's nice to have everything in one note so it's easy to kind of pull from the content library into your own folder. If there becomes an issue later, I'll take like all of chapter 1 and I'll put school and clear it out of the content library or something like that. But I'll let you guys know in advance, so if you just wanted to copy the whole content library into your private notebook, you could do that before I move it all into PowerSchool. But that's going to be the general, like the gist of things. So like once I check the homework on Mondays or Tuesdays, or those 2 days I'm able to get through everything. But as soon as you that homework assignment, if you can move those pages into your own private OneNote, that helps me out a lot so it just doesn't get too big, the backup files. Because a lot of us have images in there, right? Like a lot of us have taken homework pictures of our homework, and those become really big backup files and chews up like all my hard drive space doing that. Okay. Anybody still kind of working on doing this? It's okay if you are.
I am.
Okay. Yep. No problem. Again, like, it's important that we do this now. It's just for the class to function. We need to spend some time doing this, and that's fine. No big deal. And again, if we don't have this completely right, I'll check later today, and we can always come back and address this again at a later date. It's not that big of a deal, I just want to try to get most of us set up. Okay. Thank you. I appreciate that. So today, my plan is I'm just going to take some questions from homeworks. And then we'll spend the rest of the time in class letting you guys work on the review. We'll talk a little bit about the test format in between there. And my plan is the test for you guys would be Thursday this week. So before we do that, I want to point out to you, I put answer keys for homeworks 3 through 10, well, except for 7, but I think we went through and did all of 7 in class together. So I wasn't worried about that one. 7 was the linear programming class. But I put all those keys in there as well as the test review, just so you know that if you want to go and look at stuff, those are all there. So to start, we'll just take any kind of general questions that you guys might have about content that we've done so far. Natalie.
So especially for past work, I solved using the Gaussian elimination.
Okay.
Can you show us how to solve using Kramer's method?
So on home. Yeah, sure, of course. So for the sake of argument, let's just do 3 using Kramer. Okay. So I'm going to write the setup out here first, and then we'll get the calculator out and punch everything through to kind of get the action. So the denominator in each of these fractions is going to be exactly the same. The denominator is going to be the determinant, so I'm going to do the vertical bars, of the coefficients. So that's going to be -1, -5, -5, 4, -5, +4, 1, 5, -1. And that's going to be the same in each of these. And now the numerator in each of these is just going to be like a modified version of that coefficients matrix. So when I solve for x, I'm going to replace the x column of my coefficients matrix with the solutions column. So it'll start 290. But then the other 2 columns are exactly the same as the coefficients matrix. So far, so good, Nat? No problem. So when we want to solve for y, what are we going to do? Exactly. So the rest of the coefficient matrix stays the same, but the y column we're going to replace with, thank you, with the solution, but everything else stays the same. And then similarly, the z column, same idea. So to solve for z, we'll replace the z with the solutions matrix, or solutions column. Thank you. Joe.
What's RREF?
That's a calculator operation that we use to do the Gaussian elimination. It stands for row reduced echelon form. No, you don't need to know what it stands for. Just be able to use it. Okay. So good, Nat? Okay. So now what I'm going to need to do is I have 4 different matrices to type into my calculator. I'm going to have to type in the coefficients matrix, but I only need to enter that in once because it's the same each time. And then I have to do the x numerator, the y numerator, and then the z numerator. So I'm going to type in 4 different matrices into my calculator. With that plan so far? Okay. So I'll fire up my graphing calculator here. soon as it wants to show up. There it goes. And then to type a matrix into my calculator, I press second, and that X to the -1 button. I'm going to go over to the Edit tab, and I'm going to type my coefficients matrix into A. It doesn't really matter which one you put in which, but you need to know which one is what. So that coefficients matrix is a 3 by 3. And I'll just type the entries in exactly as they look on my sheet of paper. Okay, and then take a quick peek to make sure you didn't copy anything down wrong. That looks like it's in correctly. Everybody so far so good? Okay, now I got to exit back out to the main screen. Go back into the matrix menu. Back to the Edit tab, but this time let's pick matrix B. And this I'm going to use, or I'm going to type in the X numerator. So the numerator for the X solution is what I'm going to type into this one. Remember that 20 is a -20. You can't really see the negative sign on the screen right now, but I remember because Maddie reminded me twice that I forgot to do it. Thank you, Maddie. No, you don't have to apologize. I'm glad that you did it. Like, let's not, if I do something dumb, please let me know, like, hey, you wrote that down wrong. That makes everybody's life easier if I correct it right then and there, right? No need to apologize for that. I was just giving credit where credit is due. You're paying attention. I like it. Everybody go to that one. Okay? So I'm going to go now back into the matrix menu. Back to the Edit tab. This time I'm going to edit matrix C. I'm going to make that the numerator for the Y solution. Okay. So we're good there. And we'll exit back out. We'll then go back in and edit matrix D now. So let's move that so we can see what it is. There it is. -1, -5. I'm going to stop saying the numbers because that's probably making it harder for you guys to type in the right numbers if I'm saying numbers aloud. Right? I know that would mess me up if I was trying to do it. Or if I was following along and someone was saying numbers while I was trying to type in different numbers. And then I'll just double check to make sure I typed everything in correctly. So it's the same as my sheet of paper, so that's good. Okay. Let's go ahead and exit out of here. And now on the home screen, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to type in determinant of B divided by determinant of A to get the value for matrix X, and then D divided by A for Y, and then D divided by A for Z, right? The X's. Oh, OneNote use are fighting with me today. It's because I cleared all the temp files because I was out of space to be able to do the video recording because I recorded everything for the previous 2 classes, so like it's been a recording heavy day, and now everything is, OneNote is having a stroke as it's trying to like rebuild all these stupid temp files. Okay. There we go. So I'm going to start by just making a fraction because it makes everything a little easier to see what's going on. So I'm going to do alpha y equals, and pick the numerator over denominator. I think I just lost my Zoom call. You can go away. Sorry, guys. I don't want to continue on without the people from home here. And I don't know what just happened, but the Zoom call just dropped. So I'm just waiting for that all to reconnect. Joe?
After this, you're going to take questions.
Sure. I didn't intend this question to take this long. We're fighting the technology in addition to everything else. So I'm hoping the next one goes a bit quicker for me. You know what I mean? But apparently everything is moving slow right now for me. Okay, so is now in the numerator I want determinant of B, and in the bottom I want determinant of A, right? So to get the determinant command, I'm going to go back into the matrix menu, and this time I'm going to go to the Math tab, and I'm going to select the determinant command, and then I need to go in and select matrix B, so I'll go back in the matrix menu. From the Names tab, I'm going to select matrix B, and then I'll close my parenthesis, and I'll use my arrow key to move to the denominator for determinant of A. Natalie, are you good with that? Okay. What is going on? Yeah. What is the determinant? Okay. So the determinant is an operation that takes a matrix and turns it into a real number, an n by n matrix, and turns it into a real number. We didn't derive why Cramer's rule works. We just stated these as formulas and then moved on. And to be honest with you, it's like beyond the scope of the class to derive why this works. And I would not ask you why it works, but I would rather just Well, I mean, I could ask you to take the determinant of something, right? Like, that's just a thing I could do as like a problem, like ask you to multiply two matrices together. Like we did in homework 9. There were problems where I just asked you to like take the determinant of this matrix. Yeah, I guess. And I don't know what's going on. There it goes. So again, if I go back in and then pick matrix A and press enter, there's my answer. So the likely issue there, Natalie, is just that you typed something, like one of the numbers in your matrix is wrong. It just like maybe you did like a -5 instead of a +5 or something silly like that. So, or you did +20 instead of -20, like I forgot to write down the negative sign on the 20 or whatever. But that's all it's going to be.
So correct process is like simple numbers.
Yes.
Got it.
Yeah, that's all. There's nothing, the calculator is doing what it's doing. Like there's no way to mess that up other than like you typed in one of the numbers in your matrix wrong. That's the only way it's going to give you an answer that's not the right answer, is if just like you entered something in incorrectly. And that's it.
Okay.
There's nothing more to do. The calculator does all the heavy lifting for us. All what I would need to see is like the setup. So like what we've written down here, and then the answer that you get out of the calculator. That's all I would need to see. Good. Joe, you have something.
Yeah. You talking about the test review or
Well, yes, we can do that, but let's talk about the format here for the test before we get into questions from the review. Is that okay? Okay. Oh, OneNote. Why do you hate me so much? No. Not what I wanted to do it all. Okay, seriously, one. Well, I got. There it is. All right. So the test format is going to closely resemble the test review. So if we look at the test review, the first 3 questions, apparently OneNote is fighting with me right now, but I have a copy in front of me. You guys, I'm sure, can look at OneNote at the specific page for the review and have a lot easier time than I'm having right now. So the first 3 questions I ask you to solve using substitution or elimination, and to check your answer using Gaussian elimination, and just use the calculator to do that. So that's going to be like the same first 3 questions on the test. Same kind of situation where you have two variable ones and 1 3 variable. If we turn or go to the next page, I'm going to give you a 2-variable linear program like this and ask you to graph and find the solution to it. So if you graph this, you're going to find that it's a pretty easy figure to deal with. So you'll need to find the 3 vertices involved. Run the coordinates of those 3 vertices through that cost function and see which one in this case gives you the smallest. In question 5, I'm going to give you a linear program or a story problem and ask you to write the linear program for this. It's not something you'd solve. You're just going to define what the variables are, set up the cost function and the constraint function or the constraints, just like we did in the assignment. The situation here is almost identical to one of the ones from the assignment. We just changed some numbers or whatever. Similar thing for the test. You'll see something familiar that you've seen before, maybe with just some different numbers in it. So there's no solving to do there. That's a setup only problem, right? You just do the setup. The next 6 questions are matrix operation questions. These are things that I would expect that you to show work doing by hand. Now you could certainly use your calculator to check the answers, and I would do that if I were you. But you need to have enough work shown by hand to justify that to get credit for these. So like you need to show like what numbers got multiplied and added together to get your answer for whether you're doing, matrix addition or scalar multiplication or doing an inverse or whatever. I need to have enough work in there for me to justify how you did it by hand, where the numbers came from. But I would use the calculator to get to check my final answer to make sure I did that correctly. So far, so good. And Jane, you can see like question 11 there in the review is just a 3x3 determinant question, right? And then the last 2 questions, I'm going to give you a 3-variable system and ask you to solve one of them with a matrix equation. In the directions I say, all you need to do is show kind of the setup, and then you use the calculator to actually perform the matrix operations. So you'd write out like the A times X equals B, and then that X equals whatever, and then use your calculator to do that computation. You know what I mean, guys? Just like we did in the notes. And then in the last question, it's basically the same thing, but with Cramer's rule. So just like the example that we did with Natalie, if you show the setup, like what determinants you're taking, and then the answer that you get from each of those, that's all I need. So use the calculator to do the determinants. Don't do those by hand, but you do need to set up what determinants you're taking to get those answers. And that's the test format. Joe. That's my plan. You'll notice on this, though, there's not a lot of things that you have to do by hand, right? There's the 3 systems in the beginning, but you can check all of those with your calculator because the Gaussian elimination will tell you right away what the correct answer is, right? And I'm asking you to do that. There's the 6 matrix computation questions, but again, you can check every single one of those on your calculator. The calculator can do that matrix calculation. You have to show enough work to justify how you got that answer, but you have all the right answer. You're able to get all the right answers. The only question that you can't get the answer from your calculator from is the solve the linear program question. But that's, like once you have the hang of those aren't bad, especially if there's only 2 variables and Like the problem I gave you guys on here has like 4 constraints or whatever on it, or 3 constraints. That's not so bad. And if you do that, if you try the one on the review, you'll find that that one was pretty easy to get the points from. So really, there's only like one problem that you don't have the answer for, right? Everything else is just like a setup and use the calculator to solve question. You know what I mean? So you have to know what you're doing, but you have a lot of backup. The calculator is your absolute. The technique that you'd use here on number 11 is we talked about on 1021. So if I scroll back to the notes here, I'll show you kind of the technique, the easiest way to do this by hand so that you get the right numbers multiplying and added and subtracted together. If my computer wants to do this, which it doesn't seem like it does. Oh my gosh, come on. Sorry. This is frustrating, I know. I'm sorry, guys. So if we look at example D from 1021, Joe, the idea here is I'm going to take the first 2 columns of my determinant and I'm going to recopy them on the right side. Okay with that? And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these first 3 downward diagonals and I'm going to multiply the number times 5 times 1 and then add those together. So I'm going to add it to 4 times 0 times 0 and then add that to 7 times -1 times -2. And then I'm going to take the 3 upward diagonals, multiply along those, and subtract. So 0 times 5 times 7 minus -2 times 0 times 3 minus 1 times -1 times 4. And then whatever that comes out to be is my answer. You can, but I'm going to ask to see the work. So like I would need to see this step minimally of what we're multiplying to get, what we're multiplying and adding and subtracting to get the final answer. But the calculator can do this. Right? We showed you how to do the determinant when we did the Kramer's rule. Right? You just type in the matrix and then do determinant of that matrix. And the calculator will tell you 33. It won't tell you what numbers you had to add or subtract or multiply to get the 33, but it'll tell you the 33. That's what you wanted? Okay. And I've intentionally like dodged doing this question because I put it on the review because I do want you to do it. But hopefully this is enough to like get you going in the right direction. Yes. Not a pretty easy to remember process also because it's so visual, right? So that's good. Does that feel okay? I also want to point out that I did include the answer key for the test review in OneNote also. And at this point, I'm pretty massively frustrated with what's going on with my computer, so I'm going to stop this question time, let you guys work. If you have questions on individual stuff, I'm happy to address things individually, but I just need to like shut everything down and restart my computer right now, it feels like, because everything is just like having a fit. But I don't want to like hold you guys up anymore, making you wait on me fighting with this stupid machine. So, okay. Okay, so did we never start a recording? What happened here? You know, like, I don't even know.